Lock. Go wing. Slowly coming away. Turn. Here we go. Stay by wheel. You guys alright? Very well sound, everyone.
Welcome to the sailing and tourist mecca of Bermuda, which this week hosts the Bermuda Sail Grand Prix presented by Hamilton Princess. This is the opening event to Season 3 with 6 races scheduled over the next 2 days, and the first in just a few minutes, and we are in for a real treat. The weather is set fair. This season's fleet includes 2 new nations, Canada and Switzerland, and the world's best sailors are ready to go. Hello, I'm your host, Todd Harris. Already this week, practice has been a bit lively, Stevie Morrison.
Well, that's right. It's been some good, crazy action as the crews get used to being back on the boats. This is Peter Burling on board here, crossing the boat, practicing a few tacks. And we watch here, he misjudges his footwork. The G-force in the turn, luckily held on board by his tagline. That's Nicky Boniface in the back again, thrown across the immense speeds of these boats. There's been some big breeze in the warm-up, and we've seen plenty of action. The new teams all getting to grips with things. Been some really promising times for this new Canadian team, with the experienced Phil Robertson at the wheel, but everyone's been out there learning, everyone's been out there finding their feet. Even defending champions Australia have been trying to get their grips back on the boat, and the action, well, it hasn't held back. They've all been pushing hard, making sure that as we start Season 3, the whole fleet, everyone's ready to go. New crews, new coaches, new teams. What hasn't changed though is the unscripted drama that is Sail GP, and as we enter Season 3, we can't wait to get it going.
What is Sail GP? It's high speed, high tech, high impact. 11 global events and an intense battle between 10 nations. Identical F-50s driven by the world's best and powered by nature. Look at those speeds dipping into 90 kilometers an hour. Competing on a level playing field where boat data is shared and talent actually matters. It's close to shore racing in front of sellout crowds. More rivalries, more adrenaline, more drama. Welcome to the greatest race on water.
And as the crowds take their places on shore and on the water, let's look at what is coming up in Season 3. Yes, it feels as if it's been just days since Season 2 was decided in San Francisco in convincing style by Australia, but there's much that is new to the world's foremost sailing league. New teams, new locations around the world, including the world's finest city sailing venues, new sailors to challenge the world's best, and new rivalries, and even, last but not least, new controversy.
2022 brings the start of Sail GP's 3rd season, and there's a lot to catch up on. There'll be 11 Sail Grand Prix across the season, with brand new events in Copenhagen, Dubai, Singapore and Christchurch. There'll also be 2 new teams on the starting line as Canada and Switzerland join the fray. However, the Canadian team will take over the Japanese boat for the first 3 events of the season, while the 10th F-50 finishes construction. The Japanese team will rejoin in Event 4 and will be awarded average points to keep them in the fight for the championship. Phil Robertson moves from the Spain Sail GP team to lead the new Canadian team as Jordi Zama steps in for his home nation. The Impact League will kick off once again with the Sail GP teams earning points for sustainable practices and competing for prize money to go towards their purpose partners. More speed, more adrenaline, more rivalries and more impact. Sail GP Season 3 will kick off in Bermuda.
Well, the big surprise that missing from the lineup here in Bermuda is Japan, the unlucky nation that misses out because no boat is available to them. While construction of the 10th boat for the season has been delayed by the number of crashes and repairs on the fleet in season 2, one team had to miss out until it's finished later this season. Japan's cut was based basically on the lack of commercial support, and as you can imagine, their boss, Nathan Outteridge, not happy with that decision, but he is now standing by with our Lisa Darmanin.
Well, it's unfortunate for you, Nathan, but it's very lucky for us that you're on board. But how hard is it going to be watching from the sidelines?
Oh, it's going to be pretty frustrating watching the racing today. You know, it's one thing to be competing in the series and then next minute you're watching and commentating. But, you know, I'm going to be in a good position. I'm with you, Lisa, and we'll have some good conversations about, you know, what the teams are doing. And, yeah, hopefully I can learn a few things.
So you came second in the last 2 championships. How much of a shock was it when you got the call that you had to give up your boat?
Yeah, it was a bit of a shock, to be honest, but at the same point we did know that one of the teams was going to miss out. There's just not enough boats ready yet, and unfortunately it came down to a financial decision. You know, I think the shock was that, you know, you come second in the first 2 seasons, you know, been here working with SailGP for so long, yet we're unable to get the finances that we need to keep the team on the water. So, you know, my focus right now is today, do some good commentary hopefully, and, you know, be looking for some sponsorship to get the team back out on the water.
Well, I'm really excited to have your insights, but today on the Great Sound, it's quite cloudy and light. So our forecast from AccuWeather is 12 km/h winds gusting to about 24 km/h. And in these fickle winds, it's going to be quite challenging to execute those foiling tacks and jibes. So I think those teams that can get up to speed and foiling fast are going to run away from the other boats. Over to Stevie for the course map.
Getting a good start is vital as the crews try to cross the line at top speed as soon as possible after the start. On the first leg, there will be some real close quarter action as the crews jostle to lead at Mark 1, which in these light conditions is absolutely vital for a good result. The best position? Well, it's closest to the mark itself, and of course, if possible, at the front of the fleet. After rounding Mark 1, with the wind behind, the teams will sail at an angle to the wind. That's because it increases their speed. And now it's all important how fast they progress down these ladder lines towards Gate 2. Usually you'll see the leaders continue to the boundary in clear wind and water before turning. But the boats behind will often break away early to try and find clear wind and water of their own on the other side of the course. At the bottom of the course is another crucial decision, choosing whether to turn left or right to start leg 3. The leading boats will be looking to select the best side of the course with more favourable wind, but the trailing boats may choose to turn away early to avoid sailing in the leader's disturbed wind. Remember that sailboats can't sail directly into the wind, so they must sail at angles of about 45 degrees to it. Up to Gate 3, and again the boats will bear away, accelerating fast. Very, very gusty, shifty conditions here in Bermuda, so crucial for the tacticians to have their head out the boat at this stage of the race. From here on, depending on the wind strength, there will be 1 or 2 more laps before a short leg to the finish to create a 12 to 16 minute race. Once again, manoeuvres, handling, strategy will all play a part in sailing these boats round the course as fast as possible. Key to success is going to be a good start to lead at Mark 1 and then choosing the best side of the course with the strongest wind before they reach the finish.
Well, before we kick off season 3, we must pay tribute to the champions Australia and their leader Tom Slingsby. His second SailGP title added to an exceptional resume, including winning Olympic gold, the America's Cup, the World's Moth Championship, and well, the list just goes on and on for Tom.
The repeat is now complete. 2-time SailGP champions.
We just want to get off to a good start for season 3. It's going to be a long season. We've got a lot more events this season than last season, and it's exciting for us. I personally wake up during the night thinking about things and how we can go faster, what we can do better, how we can take the next step with our sailing, and definitely the reward of it all is worth it. Come on, guys. It's a huge sacrifice involved to being a successful sailor.
What a performance.
Where there's a lot of pressure on us these days now that we're the 2-time winners and we've won most of the events SailGP has run. Having a bad event is just around the corner all the time. When things aren't going our way, we didn't really react well. We didn't bounce back well.
I feel like I'm improving every day I go sailing, and I feel like I'm becoming a better person, and I'm managing my temper and my frustrations better all the time. I'm excited for season 3.
Very, very versatile guy, very, very talented. They're the team that has spent the most time together since the inception of SailGP, so I think that really says something.
What's made him such a successful sailor in SailGP is that when others are making mistakes, he's not, and so he's getting all the points.
Tom has found that sort of magic formula. It's our job to try and knock him off that perch now.
So as we turn the page from season 2 to season 3, remind you these are the final results from last year. Australia, the 2-time champions with Tom Slingsby at the helm. He just is so consistent. Nathan Outteridge also consistent as they are the 2-time runners-up in SailGP. Looking to turn things around in season 3. The USA making it into that grand final in San Francisco. That's about as good as it got for them. They're still looking for their first win. Great Britain, New Zealand, Denmark, a lot of work still to do. Spain and France also in that same boat, trying to turn things around from season 2 and see if they can't make a big splash here in season 3. The best way to do it is to start things off on the right foot here in Bermuda. So we'll see how these teams fare. Quick news on Spain, Stevie Morrison.
Well, that's right. We're looking on board the Spanish boat here. An interesting move, Paula Barcello at the front there on the grinding handles to free up space for Juan Cordona at the back. Olympic bronze medalist taking that tactician's role. So really good action on board the Spanish team. And the new Swiss team, no doubt, looking forward to racing.
So back on the Great Sound, we are set to kick off season 3 with the Bermuda Sail Grand Prix presented by Hamilton Princess. And Freddie Carr, a lot of newcomers here into the start box. Remember, we've got 10 teams this year racing.
Yeah, 10 teams that are racing this year. We're on board with the Swiss, one of our new teams in season 3. I cannot wait for season 3. It's going to be unbelievable. Same size race course, more boats, and I think if you make a mistake in this fickle 20-kilometre-an-hour breeze, whereas in season 2 you might have lost one boat, I reckon with the compression of talent now, you're going to lose 3 or 4 places if you do a bad manoeuvre.
So under a minute to go. Remember, there's 3 races today, then 3 tomorrow. But in that third race tomorrow, it's only the top 3 point getters that'll be racing. So right now, it's about garnering as many points as you can, being at the front of the fleet because you've got 3 races with a quick turnaround, Stevie Morrison. So any mistakes, any mechanicals, you're going to really be up against it. Now, as they are into the start box, we are less than 40 seconds away. Obviously, positioning is key. You've got to get this start right so you're not at the back.
Absolutely. Gusty winds here at the moment, and we can see Canada at the bottom of the screen. They have a good controlling position with 26 seconds to go. The Australians well out the back. Can Tom Slingsby's crew find a gap? It's the USA and Canada in control with 18 seconds to go. Here we go. The Canadians pop up onto the foil right now. Looks like it's going to be tight in the middle of the line with 10 seconds to go. Australia coming through fast on the foils. How's your timing there? We're waiting for Canada to turn down towards the start. Watch for the line to turn white, and the season 3's underway. Great start by the Canadians. Great start by Ainsley. It's a sprint now for Mark 1. It's going to be how fast can we foil to lead at this crucial Mark 1.
So the entire fleet up and foiling, and look at the speeds as they come into mark number 1 of season number 3 here in beautiful Bermuda. The Americans are up there, the Canadians, the Australians, and all the proper villains that you'd expect to be at the front of the fleet.
Going to be tight as we come towards that yellow circle. Overlaps are absolutely crucial at this stage of proceedings. Australia there looking to open the gap up here. Looks like Canada are going to turn down first, but did the British crew manage to sneak in on the inside? Yes, they did. It's Ainsley who leads at Mark 1, and he's straight into a manoeuvre, heading down towards gate 2.
That's very interesting that the British were leading the race and they chose to jibe out early. That makes me think that they can get to the bottom mark by jibing away from the boundary.
On board with the British here. Very calm on board that British boat. That's the voice of Ben Ainsley, talking about what's going to happen in the future. Nikki Boniface, she prefers the left-hand side. So let's expect a left turn, early tack.
And look at the speeds already here as we are on to leg 2 of 7. This is race 1 of 3 on day 1.
Up hard, 2, 1. Up hard here.
So at gate 2, it is all Great Britain out in front. Remember, they finished in 4th overall last season, looking for much better this year as Ben Ainslie and crew. Spain in 2nd, Canada in 3rd, and it looks like the entire fleet is going to that side, except at the last minute, Tom Slingsby in Australia bear away, and they will try the other side of the course. So there you go. The entire fleet goes to the top. Slingsby goes to the bottom as we are joined now by Olympic gold medalist Nathan Outteridge, the skipper of Japan. Nathan, your thoughts on what you're seeing so far?
Yeah, so that start looked like it was all about the leeward end. We had GBR at the leeward end, and Canada were 1st and 2nd around the mark. And as you all saw there, it's quite left shift on the course right now. Sorry, right-hand shift, which meant early jibe and you're laying the gate. So huge gate bias to where the whole fleet went, except for Australia, who took the other side of the fleet. So plenty of this race to go, and you can see New Zealand already starting to get back into this race also.
Thanks very much, Nate.
That's very interesting. We just had the onboard comms there from the Australians. Huge loss. You've just got to shut your eyes and go right. So no matter what they're seeing in terms of the wind on the race course, as we can see on board there, the true wind is pretty similar between the British and the Australians. You have got to get to the right-hand side as we look upwind where the British and the Spanish are.
Obviously finding a good angle there, and we see on those ladder lines that Great Britain lead the moment, but the Spanish team are only 50 metres behind right now. The wind up to 25 kilometres an hour, we can see in the top left of the screen there. It's tight right now on the ladder line. New Zealand, after a bad tack, are back into the race, and now 300 metres to go before gate 3. It's about precision and accuracy with every time you turn the boat now. Meters are going to matter at this point of the race. Tight moment for New Zealand. When they tack, they will not have the right of way.
Keep an eye on the speeds on the top of the mast as they go into the tack. They're looking to achieve about 50 kilometres an hour to keep the boat on the foil throughout the tack. The Kiwis didn't manage to do that there. They put one hull in the water. When you put one hull in the water, the boat speed drops dramatically.
But they're on that yellow ley line now, Freddie. Great positioning for the New Zealand crew at this point in time. Ainslie, probably one more manoeuvre coming. Spain's going to have the right of way as we approach here. Has Ben Ainslie judged this correctly on the British boat? Yes, he's just ahead. Slim pickings there, but he made a great manoeuvre. He'll lead at gate number 3, and the Spanish are going to split the course. Both teams searching for wind.
Gate 3 branded near in recognition of SailGP's new global partner. It's a really cool blockchain technology that we'll explain more as the race progresses. But here we go through gate number 3, and this is going to be a tight crossing. Look at this.
Tight moment for New Zealand. Fly too high as he dives inside, but he takes 3rd. Phil Robertson's Canadian crew must stay clear and expect him to fly fast over the top. It's really tight back in the pack. No room to breathe at the moment.
This is the umpires. Penalty Denmark relative USA. Penalty Denmark relative USA.
USA now, the Danish crew must drop behind the USA to clear the penalty. They appear to have dropped behind there on the live line. How are we going to do this? There's still a penalty on board Denmark. Now it's cleared. Tight moment here, but
and
back to the...
meanwhile, look at this, Stevie. Great Britain, more than 300 meters, and we're on leg 4 of 7 in the first race of season 3.
What's the bias here? Still left.
Listening to Ben Ainslie there.
Straight out here, guys.
Sounds keen to keep it simple.
Sounds keen to keep it simple, and he's got lovely wind speed there as well, compared to the Spanish, who are in a slightly different patch of water and going downwind at almost 70 kilometres an hour. They really have extended by taking a different side of the course to the Spanish at the top of the first upwind.
These F-50s are so amazing, guys. We look at the average wind speed at 26 kilometers an hour, and they're sailing these things at close to 50, 60 kilometers an hour.
Here we go, tight moment. Spain and Canada look tight as they come in here. It's the right of way with Spain. Has Phil Robertson judged it? Yes, he has. What a first race in SailGP for the new team. Old heads on board, Phil Robertson and Chris Draper, but wow, they're really in the middle of the race as we see the British. Big change of direction. That's the wind turning them away. Straight into attack. They should be able to sail nearly up the sail ladder lines here.
And how about Jimmy Spithill and the Americans? They go from 6th up to 3rd after that penalty to Denmark, so they move ahead of Spain, who drops into 4th, and they lose another position behind the Kiwis, who cut in just behind. But everyone making their way to the top of that course. That, as Nathan Outteridge pointed out, that's where the wind seems to be.
A little bit of rudders off for the dip.
That's the voice of Ian Jensen, the wing trimmer there. Just talking, doesn't think he can make it in one, so let's just keep going fast here, Ben.
Leg 5 of 7. Great Britain on top, Canada, New Zealand, Spain, and the USA as we check in with Nathan Outteridge.
Yeah, as you can see here, GBR have got a huge lead at the moment, and they're just keeping it simple. It's apparent that, you know, there's one side of the course is so much stronger for pressure than the other side. And at the top of the course, the left turn is really strong. You saw Spain drop from second right back down into 5th or 6th there. There was plenty of action at the top mark, and I can see as the boats come up the course, you've still got, you know, Spain and New Zealand and USA all really close, fighting it out for 3rd position. It looks like the first 2 have completely bolted here, and everyone's fighting it out for the scraps at the moment.
Well, the British did a really nice job on that first downwind, and you can see their average wind. As Nathan said, the British extended and the Spanish tumbled down the leaderboard, and that was because there was almost a 7 km/h average speed difference between those 2 boats.
So Great Britain with a massive lead. As you take a look at the leg summary, the numbers right there, the average speed, the distance, it is all Great Britain. Sir Ben Ainslie, and he is looking to be in mid-season form here in the first race of Season 3, the Bermuda Sail Grand Prix, presented by Hamilton Princess as they approach gate number 5. Now that gate, again, branded near in recognition of SailGP's new global partner.
And the British boat are just hitting repeat on the tactics that made them extend on the first lap. They've paid the price of an extra manoeuvre, which slows the boat down, but they have already figured out the best formula to get around this white race course, and they're doing the same again.
Yeah, and that was the voice of Nicky Boniface, tactician at the back of the boat, trying to spot all the other boats. 9 boats in the fleet this year, all a lot busier. And as Nathan said, it's about keeping it simple. The Canadians, they're going to follow. This isn't the time to roll the dice. You're in 2nd position. Try and keep things simple, trying to keep it going well. That's Georgia, Llewellyn Lafrance on the back, steering out of the manoeuvres for the Canadian boat. Lovely manoeuvre by the Canadians. What a performance by this new crew so early on in the race here.
And there's Jimmy Spithill coming in as he is in 3rd place. Look at the margins and the time difference between Great Britain, Canada, and the USA. Remember, it's all about getting the points so you can be in the final race tomorrow.
Australia, great move there, up to 5th. He's going to try and find separation again, and now that's really tight in the pack, just seconds separating them. New Zealand, a bad manoeuvre on that upwind leg. They've dropped to 7th. It's going to come down to the fine margins on this final run downwind.
Okay, so right turn here and then reach the finish.
There we go, we're just on board with Ben Ainslie there. He's talking about one more right turn. He's going to head to the finish now. It looks like a commanding performance. 500 metres ahead of the 2nd place Canadian boat. Masterclass.
And we're talking about positions as they go around the final gate. The biggest mover in this race is the Americans. 7th at Mark 1, jumped up to 3rd. Really nice sailing. They put a penalty on another boat sailing through the fleet.
So race number 1 going the way of Ben Ainslie. Remember, they finished last year in 4th place out of the grand final race, and they come back in race number 1 at the Bermuda Sail Grand Prix presented by Hamilton Princess, and they look to be the class of the field. This wasn't even close as Ben Ainslie and company absolutely blast through the course all 7 legs, leaving everyone else in their wake, and Ben Ainslie will race out to an early lead. Remember, it's 10 points for the win, 9 for 2nd, and further on down. But you want to get the points plenty, Stevie, to get yourself in that big final on Sunday.
Absolutely. It's all about making the top 3 final race here. And the race 1 victory goes to Great Britain and Ben Ainslie. 3rd place. Here we go. It's tight at the bottom. Coming from nowhere, Tom Slingsby. Will he have the inside of Denmark? It looks like he's going to sneak in. What a comeback by Slingsby. He's back through to 4th after a disappointing start to the race. Jimmy Spittill's going to be happy with 3rd. But wow, what a comeback by the champion.
And the amazing thing about the Australians sailing through the fleet is they were effectively sailing the wrong way around the racecourse the whole time. We saw it at the first leeward gate. That shows me tactically they had to do something different, but they must be super fast yet again.
So the two-time defending and reigning champions will finish in 4th place unless Nikolai Sehested and Denmark SailGP presented by Rockwell can reel them in. They're going to run out of distance here as Spithill will bring it across. Jimmy Spithill looking for a big win, and could this be the start here in Bermuda? Remember last year he had that collision with Japan which really ended their campaign in Hamilton, but Spithill with a nice start for the Americans as they will finish in 3rd place, the Australians 4th, Denmark finishing in 5th, and look at this race. Spain and New Zealand. Burling sitting in 7th, looking for that extra point if he can pass the Spanish.
It's going to be tight. He needs to get an overlap. I don't think he's going to make it in time. The right's going to sit with Spain. Yeah, they're going to have to follow him.
So give 6 to Spain.
The 3-2-1, I think I can understand that one, Todd. My Spanish is limited, but a good performance by the young Spanish crew under the new skipper, Jordi Chamar. He's going to be happy with that, a mid-fleet finish, but I'm sure they'll be looking to improve as the day goes ahead.
Freddie Carr, you've been in this situation before. How nice is it to start off your campaign with a big win, like a convincing win?
Yeah, it's a pretty nice way to open season 3. The chase boats come alongside. They're going to swap grinders. Neil Hunter will come off. Matt Gotcha will go on, get a bit more power, fresh power to the handles. The coach will jump on board. You can see Rob Wilson there with his hooded jacket. He'll instantly be giving feedback to the crew and telling them what they can do even better in race number 2.
Hard to get better than that as France will bring up the rear and they will finish in 9th place. Spain looking really good there in that 6th position to wrap things up. New Zealand 7th. Got to be a little bit disappointing for them. They were looking for bigger things to start this campaign in season 3. And of course, Switzerland, one of the new teams as Sebastian Schneider and his company bringing it in. So France will be the last boat to cross the line. Wow, a lot to talk about there. Freddie, let's start with you and the key moments from race number 1 here in Bermuda.
Yeah, it was quite an unusual move by the British. They led to Mark 1 by coming off the bottom of the line. That's a very brave place to launch the boat from. Very high risk. And this is the unusual maneuver. This is when you're leading and jibe out early. It's something we don't often see in SailGP. We often see boats extend to the boundary when they're in the lead. The British must have established before the race that if you go to boundary, you can overstand the ley line. They did a really nice job, jibed early, and extended away.
Heavyweight 2, here we go.
The USA are in. Are they going to survive? I don't think they are. Yes, they have. Good job by the USA to hold that. The Great Britain team above it. The USA still aren't out of this yet. They've got to try and stop it. It looks like they're gone. No, the tip of the wing is in the water.
We've got a big issue in the middle of the fleet here. Nathan Outteridge, very late to manoeuvre, and he's collided with the US crew. This is a big moment on board here. The Japanese boat on board the American boat. Hopefully no one's hurt, but that was a big misjudgment from Outteridge.
One gust, though too strong, saw the Spanish boat capsize. The sailors are all safe and okay, but the boat suffered extensive damage. You can see the top part of the wing completely ripped off.
They stopped it. This could be over. Capsize coming.
Oh, and a capsize for Great Britain in the finale. And so now it is 2 boats battling for the title as Australia sails away.
Oh, there's a collision on board the American boat and the Spanish boat. Oh my lord!
Round up when you want. Guys, let's get going.
No, the British crew have crashed there. No lights there, lost control of the boat. There's going to be disaster for the Japanese and the British. That's unbelievable. A massive miscalculation from Ainsley. There is no power on the Japanese boat. Disaster for the Japanese team.
Well, Bermuda is only 26 square miles, but you're never more than a mile from the water. This is the second year we have kicked off the SailGP season in beautiful Bermuda. The local residents and businesses are always sensational hosts when SailGP comes to town. From the climate to the crystal clear waters and one of the world's top beaches, Horseshoe Bay and its pink sand, Bermuda is one of the world's premier destinations. And if you're into sailing, this is definitely the place for you. Beautiful day racing out on the Great Sound as we welcome you back to the Bermuda Sail Grand Prix presented by Hamilton Princess.
Well, the start did prove decisive here, and we're going to follow in with Ben Ainsley's Great British team at the bottom of the line. A brave start. 17 seconds to go. They were on the back foot a little bit at this stage, but securing that position, keen to get right in on the mark there with just 10 seconds to go. He's slow at this stage on board the British boat, holding back, and it was the timing of the turn down that was crucial to build that speed at the last minute. Pretty much perfect on the line on the B of the bang and led at Mark 1.
And Stevie, when you lead at Mark 1, it becomes a fairly straightforward tactical race course, and you can see there the distance the British sailed around the course was the smallest. That's why they extended throughout the race and led. The other standout thing there is the Canadian average speed. That shows me the new crew of Robertson Draper and much applauded new flight controller Billy Goodrum have gelled really well. Now, I know Nathan has sailed with Billy Goodrum in the lead up to this event and is very, very impressed with that Canadian rookie flight controller, and there's no doubt that they are going pretty quick for a new team.
Well, we always talk of the importance of start, and yesterday's practice races saw a new standard being established, and it was the USA that judged one of their starts to an amazing 13 centimeters from the line at top speed.
But they're coming in fast at the top of our screen. It's going to be Great Britain. Watch for the line to turn white. They're all really close on timing. Wow! USA, I think he was clear. Perfect from Jimmy Spithill on the US boat. It's now a drag race towards mark number 1. His timing, absolutely spectacular from the USA. Foiling fast. Absolutely incredible work there from Jimmy Spithill.
Let's switch to the umpire's measurement, which shows just how close their start was. The USA was at a top speed of 49 kilometers an hour. At the exact start time, the front of their boat was just 13 centimeters from the line.
Well, back to season 2 briefly, and some are still puzzling over the poor performance of New Zealand. Fresh from winning the America's Cup, they went into SailGP Season 2 as one of the favorites, only to finish a lowly 5th overall.
On paper, New Zealand have a team capable of winning, but underperformed in Season 2.
For Peter Burling and Blair Tuke and that crew to be finishing back in 8th place, well, that's something none of us expected.
No longer the new guys, and with a fresh season ahead, time is ticking for them to turn it around.
It was always going to be a tough ask coming into Season 2 as a brand new team. Personally, we knew there was always going to be a steep learning curve. We're racing against the best sailors in the world in boats that we hadn't sailed before. If we had to sum up Season 2, it was a foundational season for us. And then that was made more difficult with a lot of the athletes having coming in and out with the Olympic Games in the middle of the season.
Pete and Blair are out for the Olympics, and there's replacement driver Arno Sarafagis.
Yeah, it was hard to build continuity as a group, but towards the end of the season we really felt like we'd turned that around and started having some good performances.
What a start by the Kiwi crew!
At times, New Zealand were challenging for a race win, but all too often they gave it away.
There's going to be a protest on that one!
Penalty New Zealand relative Japan.
The team need a coach to bring a different perspective and to help them bring back the performance expected.
I'm really excited about coming on board and helping the guys out, and we've really got to work on just being consistent. There's no excuse now to not start putting some proper good points on the board. graph that's been tracking it vertically. So
I think having Ray involved now is definitely going to help us as a group, and it already has.
Be happy with a third, do not throw it away and turn it into a 7th. Manage your expectations, because you can slip back down through the rankings as quick as you can go up.
We're happy with the progress we've been making, but we've got to put that into practice now and make it show on the water.
Well, I'm sure that's not the way the New Zealand SailGP wanted to start the season, disappointing with that 7th place. What do you think Pete will be thinking after that, Nathan?
It was definitely an interesting race for the Kiwis. They actually were in really good position and did a great move at the top of the course there. But then it looked like they just got stuck in traffic, and second lap kind of unravelled for them. So, you know, after some really good training here the last few days, they really haven't had a good first race. But there's a couple more races to go here, and I'm sure they're going to bounce back, and they need to.
So there's a bit of pattern to this racing, but to me it looks like there's not really any overtaking lanes.
Yeah, exactly. As we saw there, had to jibe almost straight away at Mark 1 to lay the bottom gate. I've been watching the course here with Elisa, and they've extended the course a little bit. The bottom gate is still very big, but to me it still looks like the left turn at the bottom is strong, which is creating this follow the leader kind of race course. So, you know, the weather pattern's changing slightly. Top gate hasn't moved at all, but as we saw, Tom Slingsby found a way to get back through in that one.
All right, thank you very much, Lisa and Nathan, as we come up on 2 minutes away from the second race of today. Remember, there are 3 races today, 3 races tomorrow, but the third race tomorrow is only for the top 3 point getters. So points are at a premium as we approach race number 2. Freddie, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on race 1 and who needs to do what in race 2 to get themselves really back in the game?
Yeah, I mean, the standout thing from race 1 for me is halfway up the first upwind, so leg 3, just how close all the boats were. Now, a little change from season 2 to season 3, the penalty points per race have doubled, and the season points, if there's a collision between the boats, have doubled. They're really trying to keep these boats away from each other. But one thing I can say with a bit of certainty is I think we're going to see contact between 2 boats here in Bermuda, and it could almost be a regatta ender, if not have a big dent on your season.
Coming up on a minute 15 to go. This is the second race as we kick off season 3 here in beautiful Bermuda. This is the Bermuda Sail Grand Prix presented by Hamilton Princess on a great day for sailing. Stevie, we're concerned that there might be not enough wind, but it looks like it's perfect right now, and everyone is finding enough breeze to go quickly.
Yeah, it's a perfect breeze out here. We can see the boats all quite close to the line, not too windy, but the start we know will be crucial.
There's 2 groups in this start for me. There's the New Zealand through to America group that are going to try and replicate the British start, and the other boats are off to the left-hand side of the screen, and Stevie, they're trying to do a timed run to the start line.
That's right, they want to come through up on the foils. They're going to look to come from a long way back with a lot of speed. We can see the pole position, right-hand side of our screen on the start line. That's the downwind end of the start line, but the top of the line as we look at it here. Now, who's got the timing right? Slingsby's really early on the foils with Australia, but at the moment it's Canada controlling the pole position at the moment. The Australians with a dramatic move at 16 seconds. He finds a way in there. He's found a hole. Now he's putting the pressure on the Danish crew. They must keep clear. Oh, there we go. Big noise from the Australian crew. They're all a little bit early here. Coming through the middle, it's Great Britain towards the bottom of the line again. Watch for the line to go right. It's tight. Great Britain's timing was brilliant again. Spain at the top of the line. Can the Spanish get the speed from up at this end of the line and blast down towards Mark 1? It looks good for Great Britain once again.
9 boats up and sailing here in race number 2, season 3 underway in Bermuda, and Great Britain once again out in front, Canada close behind. Amazed that Tom Slingsby was able to get that boat and find a spot.
We just heard the voice of Ben Ainsley there. Look for a jibe set at the mark. He's going to look to turn immediately here. We've seen the better wind is to the left-hand side of the screen as we look at it. Let's get ready. Okay, that's the voice of Phil Robertson saying the ley line's a little bit away. Great Britain set up to jibe. Early jibes, top of the screen. It's Australia and New Zealand, but look, New Zealand have fallen off the foils. Another mistake early in the race here. Barely foilings Australia. They're going to need a bit of magic from here. They are in speed, still at 26 kilometres an hour is New Zealand, at 55 kilometres an hour Great Britain. They're bugging out on this first downwind leg.
Leg 2 of 7 here in race number 2 in Great Britain. Remember, race number 1 with Canada in second. It is a repeat, and once again, New Zealand finds themselves in a hole.
Ben Ainslie talking about the wind he can see. If these crews can find more wind, you're going to be able to sail faster. And look at the lead. Just 3 minutes into this race, it already could be a race-defining lead. Phil Robertson, Canadian crew, looking great position here as the Spanish. They're looking to find space on the other side of the course. Risky manoeuvre for Jordi Zamar and his Spanish crew, though.
That's exactly what Australia did in the first race, and that dropped them back considerably, as Tom Slingsby having a close cross with the Americans right there as Jimmy Spinell has to dip behind. So past gate number 2, everyone through cleanly. Nathan, what are you seeing down there? Have things changed much on the course from what we saw in race number 1?
All right.
Yeah, what you saw there was obviously the guys had to sail a little bit further after Mark 1 before making the ley line. Australia and New Zealand jibed early on the mark and thought it was going to work out well for them, and actually got all the bad wind from the boats from the first reach and took a while for them to get going. But, you know, super impressive with GBR once again, great start, and Canada sailing very well today. So it'll be interesting for me watching on the water to see if Australia can make their way back up into the top 5 in this race.
Yeah, never want to be fast here.
Okay, so we've got the British boat in the lead here. They have foiled 100% of the time. Their fly time when the boat is out of the water has been perfect in this race so far. That has given them a really nice average boat speed. In contrast, you can see New Zealand fell off the foil at that jibe and are 5 kilometres an hour slower on average than the British, and that is why they are last. You've got to keep the boat in the air and keep it ripping.
400 metres to go here. That's the voice of Ian Jensen. There's been a lot of chat about a left turn being the key move here. The advantage of being in front, of course, is you control your own destiny. If you're in the lead, you get to make all the decisions, and right now, Great Britain, they want 2 more tacks. They've got to be careful. 2 more tacks, and then they'll look to turn left.
See the heads on board, constantly looking around, looking for that puff of wind. Great Britain again with the lead. France in second now. Canada has dropped back to 3rd.
Perfect tack on the ley line there by the British crew. That yellow line suggests where they're going to make the ley line, but the wind is changing direction. See, they're nearly sailing across the ladder lines at the moment, not really progressing towards the gate at the moment. Suggests the wind's turn to the right. Get ready to see what the British do now. We're listening to Britain as they try and get round gate 3. I think there could be another manoeuvre coming. That was a big side from Ainslie. Look at the speed drop as he tries to squeeze.
Yeah, 2, 1 down.
30 kilometres an hour, fallen off the foils. Maybe a mistake by the British crew here.
So Great Britain out in front as they make their maneuver. Now they're heading into traffic as Switzerland has to give away, and Denmark. Now France has moved into a very strong 2nd place position, and Canada sits in 3rd.
Out this way now.
There we go, that's the voice of Ben Ainslie talking about the wind. I'm surprised they took that right-hand turn. It was slow, had been talking about wind, but look at back in the pack here now. Australia, they're right in the fight here. It's tight in the pack at the moment. New Zealand, they're looking for space from last up to 7th place for New Zealand, and the Australians an unforced error penalty.
Penalty, this is the umpires, penalty Australia relative New Zealand. Not giving room at the mark.
Chief umpire Craig Mitchell doling out the penalty to Australia.
Got to wait for the New Zealand crew to be ahead of the Australian boat before that penalty will fall off, and looking at the ladder lines at the moment, they can't get rid of the penalty quickly. They need to make it happen or it's only going to get worse.
And way out in front, Great Britain trying to grow that lead. Remember, winners already of race number 1 with another race still to come today. It's Great Britain, Canada, Spain now into 3rd. France has fallen back to 4th. Then Switzerland and Australia still with that penalty.
Big game from the Canadian crew. It was a bad choice by the British crew. Look, they're back in here, only 50 metres apart. Good jibe by the British. They're now back in control of things, but that was a mistake by the British, and Robertson's pounce tight as we come downwind.
It was very interesting that we had our tactical talk of Ainsley, and he said looks lighter this way, and he was right. It was lighter, and that's why the Canadians are back into them.
He's off the foils on the British boat. This is an opportunity for Canada. Can he go round the outside, stay on the foils? This could be a big moment for this fledgling Canadian crew.
Ainsley must keep...
Ainsley's got to keep clear. He's got to keep clear, you hear? Got to keep clear.
Protest coming.
Okay, I am watching the penalty flags. Phil Robertson protested Ben Ainsley 3 times. Let's see what the umpires have got to say about that.
That's the voice of Chris Draper there, trying to calm Phil down. Phil, match race world champion, but he loves those aggressive situations.
Canada, Spain, Great Britain, France, and Switzerland. No penalty assessed on Great Britain, as Canada now takes the lead with Spain in 2nd. Great Britain, who had that sizable lead, moves back to 3rd. Remember, this is like 5 of 7.
Well, this is a tough moment for the British crew now. They're in the turbulent wind of the boats ahead. It's going to make them slower. Canada, the fastest boat on the race course at the moment, as Australia still try and lose the penalty versus New Zealand. Surely that penalty will be clear soon, but back with Canada. What a moment for this new crew. Georgia Lewin there, tactician on the back. Phil Robertson in training's been calling her Speedy G. 49er FX European bronze medalist, but she's a Canadian and she's really doing a good job tactically. That's the voices of Phil Robertson and Chris Draper talking to each other there, happy with how they're sailing.
And you could hear Phil Robertson saying, I'm super happy being fast. That's because he's in the lead and he is trying to use his boat speed, as we see the Canadians in shot there, and push over the top of the rest of the fleet and effectively shut down the racecourse options for everyone behind him.
Here we go, we've got the ride heights we can see on the screen here, and it's the French team really pushing that at the moment. Canada, though, sailing fast. Billy Gooderham, well, he's going to love being out in front.
So Canada has the lead, Spain in 2nd. Remember, Phil Robertson, who's now skippering Canada, was on Spain last year until he was shown the door. So this will be interesting if these two get together, with Jordi Chamar now skippering for Spain. The USA has made a huge gain, coming from 7th all the way up to 3rd. What are they talking about, Stevie, when they're saying pressing?
Yeah. Well, we are listening to Canada all the way up here, and we can hear Chris Draper absolutely screaming at Phil Robertson to press. He wants him to push the boat and accelerate to give more power to the boat.
4, 3, 2, 1, turning.
Having praised the Canadians after race 1 for how well they were gelling, it was very interesting to hear slightly Tony and fractious comms there between Phil Robertson and Draper. But hey, what does it matter? They're getting it done, and they've gone from 2nd round the leeward gate and have now got a healthy lead at our last turning mark.
So you hear the conversations on board Canada, Spain moving to 2nd, USA into 3rd as they make their way around this gate, which is branded near in recognition of SailGP's new global partner.
It's a big moment here. New Zealand look to dive inside. Big losers on that upwind leg of Great Britain. They've gone from 1st and they're now back in 6th position. Disastrous upwind for the British. Falling off the foils, it's New Zealand. And wow, these are not some of the teams we expected at the back. Australia propping up the fleet at the moment.
Australia finishing 4th in race number 1, and right now they sit in 9th place behind Denmark and Switzerland.
It'll take something pretty magic for the Australian crew from here.
Crazy how these things turn around, guys. I mean, you looked at Great Britain, Canada, the USA, dominant in race number 1. And now the Americans back to 4th, but it's Canada leading this race.
Have a look now, Todd. You see the speed of the Spanish. They fell off the foils. They lose speed. They're going to lose places. It's as simple as that. Look, the Spanish, this is a disaster. One mistake and it can all go wrong. And right now, so fast, it's the Great British crew. They look like they found more wind because they've got more speed. This could be the comeback moment for Ben Ainsley's British crew. He will be on starboard tack. You can see some 400 metres behind Canada, but Canada are gone. Jimmy Spithill in 4th. It's tight coming down to the finish.
That really is an example of how shifty this Bermuda racecourse was. That was the side of the first downwind where Ainsley lost his lead effectively. He's rolled the dice, gone back out there and gone from 7th, and he's climbing the leaderboard. Let's see where he gets to the last bottom gate.
Nathan, your thoughts as they finish up leg 6 of 7?
Yeah, that's all happening out on the racecourse right now. It's amazing when you get just a tiny bit in front how easy it is, but Ben Ainsley made a mistake at the bottom mark, and the fleets, swallowed him up here. And Lisa and I just keep watching the racing out here as they approach the top mark, and it's so different to last season. The fleet is so close and so compressed.
Our apologies for the delays in getting to and from Nathan Outteridge as we are bouncing the signal literally around the world. But right now, the only thing bouncing around Bermuda is Canada, as they have gone to a top speed of over 68 kilometers an hour. And Phil Robertson and the Canadians are on their way to picking up their very first win as we look at all the chaos behind them. France now in 2nd, Great Britain in 3rd, but here comes Jimmy Spithill in 4th.
It's a really slow manoeuvre by Great Britain. He's got to give room for Spithill here. There's going to be a protest. Wow, Spithill has to avoid a collision. Burling coming through. If he can stay on the foils, this could be a 3rd from nowhere. Big error.
Umpires, penalty GBR relative USA. Taking room to which they're not entitled.
I've got to say, on this occasion, I do agree with Chief Umpire Craig Mitchell there. He's going to have a huge penalty. He has to drop behind the US crew. This is a massive penalty.
But look at the loss for the Americans, though. As they come off the foils, they are dead in the water, and they're passed by not only New Zealand, but Spain and everyone else. They were in 3rd.
Yeah, and what a moment for New Zealand. They were at the back of the pack early in the race. That's a huge comeback for Burling. He needs it. He really does need it. But Quentin de la Pierre's French crew, fantastic performance from them. And this is going to hurt Ainsley and his British crew from 1st, and he's going to end up somewhere near 8th in this race.
So Canada gets the victory in race number 2 while the get-together with Great Britain and USA was happening. Phil Robertson brings it across the line. France bounces back from 9th to 2nd in race 2.
Another consistent performance by the young Spanish crew there. Really mature performance, really, in that race.
Is it me or just, I know I keep repeating myself, but does one extra boat on this race course just feel like the chaos has doubled?
I think, and the standard getting higher, Freddie, as well. Here we go, it's tight at the finish, just diving in 8th. The British, they tried to do a complicated manoeuvre at the bottom, lost a lot of course. I think the standard's gone up, Fred, as well. These teams are just sailing the boats better. They're sailing, they're all closer, and that just makes it a lot harder.
Well, I think a lot of that's probably down to the shared data. Everyone can see how everyone else sails the boat, and there is absolutely no doubt a compression in the skill level across the fleet in Season 3.
So race 2 complete with Canada getting the win, France in 2nd, New Zealand 3rd, and Spain in 4th, with Australia, Switzerland, the USA dropping back to 7th, Great Britain and Denmark.
It was a race of 2 leeward marks for the British coming into gate 4 when they had a good lead. They weren't quite going to get round that mark in 1, and they fell off the foil and got slow. This is where Phil Robertson went round the outside of them. He didn't have the right, so he went round the outside and then got very trigger happy indeed on the Y flag, asking the umpires whether Ben was infringing. He wasn't, but what he made Ben do there was turn closer to the wind and not build his boat speed. That allowed the Spanish and the French to get into the British crew. This is the second or the last leeward gate for the British where they had another incident. I'll be very interested to see who hit that yellow circle first and owned the mark. I tell you, I was watching on the umpap, it was very close indeed, but we know that the British got penalised and they had to go behind the Americans and rounded out a very tough race for the British crew, having won race 1.
The
wind has dropped off dramatically.
7 seconds to go. It's all about who can get on the foil. The Australians have the speed. There's the start there. Spittle's done a fantastic job again, but who's going to get on the foils first? It's Australia and Tom Slingsby. They're boosting away towards Mark 1. The camera boat in the way of the Japanese here.
Kidding me, camera boat. Talk to me. Yeah. Reset, okay? Reset. Forward, hold down.
Both boats behind off the foils.
Yes! Massive game.
If I'm honest, that camera boat didn't change the outcome of the start. Nathan Outridge might be looking for excuses. I think deep down he knows that there's no way we weren't going to win that start. We're in the controlling position the whole way.
But that's the right turn of the jibe, but they're off the foils. Off the foils here. They've just entered a patch with no wind. Both holes have dropped into the water. This can be disaster for Tom Slingsby.
On the wing seat down, Milky.
When we saw Tom stopped at the top gate where there was no wind, we all had a hope that we could steal a victory here.
At this speed, they're going to close the gap to Australia in no time.
I think there's better pressure coming out of there. Yep, getting the pace on here. Yep.
I remember looking through the wing and I saw the other two teams on their foils coming at us doing 30 knots of boat speed and we're stopped dead. I remember sitting there thinking, what's going on here? This isn't right.
They're all going to have to believe in him, and he has to know that to get them up on the foils.
All good here. Coming good, real quick.
We saw the gust of wind, we saw it coming, and we said, okay, we've just got to position ourselves perfectly here, and we got back on the foils.
And it is Australia that claims the title in 2022.
Well, the start again was full of action. It was the Australian crew came diving in. They were trying to find a route round the back, but the British crew led at the first mark in race 1 and once again found a big gap through the fleet. Australia ended up a little bit early and they had to put a big squeeze on the Danish crew, but it was the British boat coming with a little bit more distant back that ended up with a clear run through at the line. So when the line turned white, they were ready in a lot of space to just turn down and accelerate towards Mark 1, owning the lead again.
So with one race to go here on day number 1, season 3, it is Canada that leads the way with 19 points. Consistency paying off for Canada as they got second in the first race and, of course, winning the second race. Australia sits in second, Great Britain, New Zealand, Spain. The USA missing out on a golden opportunity there as they were blocked by Great Britain, so their points go away. But they will get themselves ready for the third and final race of day number 1, and we're happy to go on board now with Canada and their skipper, Phil Robertson. Phil, let's talk about those first 2 races. How are you guys gelling together as a team here in season number 3?
Well, I guess we're kind of gelling all right, considering it's our first day. No, it's going well. We've started well, got off the pin in, which is favoured, and got that first jive in really well. So it helps in these kind of conditions when it's a bit lighter to be in a good position at mark.
Hey Phil, it's Stevie here, mate. It looks like a very shifty breeze out there. Clearly you've got Georgia at the back there working as a tactician. What sort of top tips has she been giving you to find space on that racecourse?
Yeah, she's been putting us in the right spot all the time, but yeah, it's great. It's, one thing we've done as this team is tried to incorporate the women right from the go, and it's been fantastic. We've got Georgia and Isabel in this team, and both been rock stars so far, so for more.
Well, good luck, mate. You've been sailing brilliantly, so let's see if you can make it 3 from 3, and look forward to watching.
So we're 4.5 minutes away from the start of the third and final race here at the Bermuda Sail Grand Prix.
Well, Phil said he had nothing to prove, but he certainly is proving that he wants to win races. Nathan, what's your take on the Canadian team?
Wow, they're sailing very well. I think what we're seeing right now is the experience of Phil Robertson, who's been with SailGP from the very first event, and the same with Chris Draper. And what they've been able to do in the space of 2 weeks here in Bermuda is basically get the Canadian team up to speed, getting all the new sailors ready for the racing. And we've seen 2 very good starts from them, very smooth sailing around the race course, even though it got a little bit heated at times, and they're making the most of the training they've had so far.
Well, these are your conditions, but he's got your boat and your wing trimmer. Is that why?
Well, I'd like to think that we've done a good job looking after that boat and getting it up to speed. And, you know, we've also had Joe Glanfield coaching us all of season 2, who's sat over there. So all the IP that we've had for the last couple of years has gone straight to them. So I'm very happy to see them doing so well.
All right, thank you very much, Lisa and Nathan. We appreciate your input from down there on the water as the massive crowds make their way here to the beautiful Great Sound in Hamilton for the Bermuda Sail Grand Prix, presented by Hamilton Princess, as we get ready. Just about 3 minutes away from the start of the 3rd and final race today. Well, these F50s are absolute masterpieces of technology, but they may be something to look at. They may be something more to behold as they are being built, but getting them to fly is quite a different thing.
We're in a new age of sailing, the foiling generation. It's faster to travel through the air than the water, and that's why it's faster to foil out of the water with reduced drag. The foil produces an upward force, lift, that balances the combined weight of the boat and the crew once the boat reaches the takeoff speed. To create the lift needed to take off, the F50 has to reach around 30 kilometers an hour or 16 knots of boat speed to take off in a similar way to an aircraft. The flight controller is able to fly the boat by changing the angle of attack of their foil with their controller. The higher you fly, the less foil will be in the water and the less drag you'll have. Foil too low and you add significant drag, especially if it results in the boat skimming on the water. However, if you foil too high, air can be sucked down around the foil, which results in a sudden loss of lift and the boat crashing down into the water. It's a fine balancing act.
Moments away from the 3rd and final race here in Bermuda on day number 1, season number 3. Todd Harris, Stevie Morrison, Freddie Carr with you as we approach the 90-second mark. All right, the big question, Freddie, can the Canadians keep the momentum going that they've got from races 1 and 2?
Yeah, absolutely they can. I echo what Nathan Outteridge said. They've got a really nice, solid afterguard there. Billy Goodrum is probably the standout performer of the day so far. His first regatta with SailGP as a flight controller. One of the hardest positions on the boat. I often think the wing trimmer and the driver can do what they want, and the flight controller has to pick up the pieces, and he's picking up the pieces very well. I take my hat off to him.
Canada certainly in the driver's seat with points. Remember, 3 races today, 3 tomorrow, but the last race tomorrow is only the top 3 point getters.
This will be a very interesting pre-start. In race number 2, we saw 2 very different styles. We saw what is lining up now as the Spanish, the French and the Swiss as the time run to the start, but both races have been led at Mark 1 by the boat that has come off the blue triangle at the bottom of the line.
Well, we're listening to Canada at the moment here, and he's well lined up for that pole position at the moment.
Just coming off. 12. 11.
What's definitely clear right now is the Canadian team have a plan. Out the back, it's Great Britain. He's starting. Is he going to time this right? He needs a gap to open up on for him at the bottom end of the line. It's tight. Spain coming in with speed, but I think it's going to be all about the timing of New Zealand and Canada. Can they build speed quick enough from that close to the line? Coming in hot, Jordi Jamar on board the Spanish boat. Watch for it to turn white. It's a really tight start. Jordi Jamar.
This is the umpires, OCS, New Zealand and Canada over the line early. No late starters, no delayed starters.
So that now means Canada and New Zealand must drop behind the pack before Mark 1. That's a bad news for them in this race. It's going to get very hard. They need to drop behind the last boat, which currently is Tom Slingsby's Australia. But again, it's Spain and France looking like they're going to be able to lead into Mark 1. Here we go as they look to accelerate away down from Mark 1.
3, 2, 1, cayendo.
And what a great start for Spain and France. Remember, France finishing in second place in race number 2, and they seem to have control, picking up the whole shot.
Well, there we go. That yellow line is the lay line. That suggests they should be able to turn and make it down. First to jibe, Great Britain. They obviously think it is somewhere near the lay line. This is going to be interesting. The tacticians on France are pretty late.
Look at the entry speeds into the jibe, the all-important entry speeds, and then look how slow they get. They both go down to 43 kilometers an hour. The Spanish go a little bit slower. That puts them under threat from the Swiss.
And how about the Americans on the far side still carrying speeds in excess of 60 kilometers an hour? So can Jimmy Spithill make up some big difference right here, some big distance as he gets together with his old friend Ben Ainsley just to his right?
Looks like it. It's a sprint now as they come in here, and it looks to me like the French have sailed unnecessary extra distance. The course is opening out, but Great Britain, they're fast at the moment. Are they making it down to gate 2 in 1? If they do get the left turn, it will be control with Great Britain. Expect it to be tight as contact. Here we go on the inside. Great Britain has the right of way.
France has right away on the USA. The Americans hug tight. And how about Spain? How about this decision?
That's a big decision for me. That is the unbiased gate to go to. The Spanish are sailing extra distance. We saw it in race 1. It absolutely pumped the Australians and they fell down the leaderboard. I think the Spanish will pay for this manoeuvre.
We look at the speeds here and the true wind speed on board the Spanish and the British. Well, there's a little bit less wind on board the Spanish boat. Less wind means less boat speed, and we can see that on the top of those numbers as Great Britain sets up to tack. It's going to be a loss for Spain at the moment.
Oh, Spain to the very back of the pack in 9th. Great Britain back in front. France in 2nd. Switzerland and the USA sitting now in 4th, just 1 spot ahead of Denmark.
Look at the boats moving up the ladder lines here. They show us who's in the lead. Great Britain in the lead, some 200 metres ahead of Australia, but Australia are nearly sailing straight up the ladder lines, and they're gaining distance all the time. They have a favourable wind shift, and that's making them point more up the course than the other boats. It's going to be Australia, the big winners on this upwind leg at the moment.
On leg 3 of 7. This is the 3rd and final race today. 3 more coming tomorrow here at the Bermuda Sail Grand Prix, presented by Hamilton Princess. And Great Britain looks to have found their form that they had in race number 1, the race they won.
Target's 50.
That's the Australian boat there having a conversation, happy to keep pushing for the win. But look, the ladder line, Great Britain and France tied on a piece of string across here. This will be so encouraging for the French crew to be able to hold speed with the British crew.
And what's happened to the Americans? They've gone from 3rd to 9th.
Mr. Tack, Todd, simple. Mistakes matter in this sport at the moment. It's so tight.
This is a very hard lane for the British to live in. When I say lane, they can't drive the boat where they want to go because the French are in the way. But they've lived all the way across there with the wind coming over the right-hand side on the starboard tack. By holding that position, that's meant that they've held the lead of the race. Very nice driving by Ainsley.
Everyone's slow for this tack. They're below 50 kilometres an hour. It will be hard to stay on the foil. Sure enough, Great Britain touched down. They're on the lay line, though. Oh, and straight back up on the foils. Beautiful job by Britain.
Let's listen into the British and see which way they're going to go at this Windward Gate.
You're listening to Ben Ainsley there, and he's talking about going straight. No more manoeuvres, let's just turn right. Try and keep it simple, try and keep the speed high.
And with the wind dropping below 20 kilometres an hour, that makes it very hard to do foiling tacks and foiling jibes.
And here they are at gate number 3. That one branded near in recognition of SailGP's new global partner, a really cool blockchain technology. Glad to have them part of SailGP Season 3.
What a move by the French, though. Tack bear away. Brilliant boat handling. They press and push a little bit. Keep the speed up. Keep the speed up here. And Australia on the inside. It's tight. Switzerland must stay clear in the pack. Canada, well, they've done a good job. They were over at the start, up to 6th already.
One of the new kids on the block, Switzerland, currently sitting in 5th, being skippered by their young driver, Sebastian Schneider. How about France taking over the lead?
France have taken over the lead. It's really neck and neck, only 3 metres between these two boats. The interesting number is the true wind speed. They're on opposite sides of the course, and the British are in slightly more wind, which should translate into slightly better boat speed, but that's not showing right now on the graphics.
Well, looking at the course map at the moment, those ladder lines show us the French sailing parallel to that yellow ley line, Great Britain sailing across the course, right of ways with Great Britain, but at the moment it looks like the French could be clear ahead. An aggressive tactical manoeuvre by Quentin de la Pierre, confident, brilliant bit of French flair perhaps to get them back in, and it looks like it might have turned into a 100-metre lead. This tight will be close.
And look at the speeds for both the French and the Great Britain squads, over 60 kilometers an hour as Great Britain dips behind France.
But are Great Britain heading to the corner of death? We know that all the boats that go out to the bottom left-hand side of this race course, as we see the French go round in first, the mark that the British are going round in the bottom bit of that course has not been great so far today.
No, sailed extra distance, that's absolutely right, Freddie Carr, as we see the French pull away into the lead. Just talking about the breeze on the course, they're saying it's more even. That was the voice of Tom Johnson on board the Danish boat, the wing trimmer. He's talking about the wind. They all want to find more wind, because if you can find more wind, you're going to go faster.
Talking about going faster, we talked about the corner of death. At that moment in time, the British were doing 50 kilometres an hour, and the French were only doing 45 on the opposite side of the course.
Well, but the angle just doesn't look good, Freddie, at the moment for the British. Let's see what happens when they get back up to speed. The ladder lines show them 100 metres behind at the moment, but as well, they haven't got the right of way when they're close. Nathan, what can you see out there on the water? Still looks very shifty from up here.
Yeah, Stevie, it looks really shifty on the water up here. The right-hand side of the course where the French just went looks very soft, and we saw Ben lost a lot of distance by going that way on the downwind. And to me, just looking at the course, it looks a little bit windier on the left-hand side as you look to the top mark. And you can see the boats coming pretty close together there. The pack is tight out here, that's one thing that's for certain. And with this breeze dying a little bit, the foiling manoeuvres are getting harder and harder as they go around the race course.
Thanks, Nathan. Well, all the more impressive then, France's new wing trimmer, Kevin Pepenay, on board there. They seem to be doing a good job under pressure.
Yeah, and I think with Macmillan stepping off the boat after season 2 and it becoming an all French-speaking boat, in this high-octane racing, having one language spoken on board must make it so much easier for the French and actually the Spanish crews.
I think so, and look at that, Australia, the big movers at the moment, up to 4th. He's slippery old Slingsby, isn't he? He seems to be able to work a way through the fleet when he wants to. No one else seems to be able to do it, but I think he just does a good job of finding clear wind, giving himself the opportunity to be fast.
2 more legs to go here in race number 3. This is the final race of the day as we kick off season 3 of Sail GP. France has control of this race. There you see Great Britain in the distance. Denmark has moved up into 4th, just behind the 2-time defending champion Australians.
We're listening on board the French boat at the moment, and they're sailing right parallel to that ley line. That's good shape here. This could well be Quentin de la Pierre's first win in Sail GP if they can hold it together with just 2 legs left. Tight cross coming here, right of ways with Great Britain. Let's see what the French do. One more tack.
That's the same manoeuvre that they overtook the British on the last upwind gate. And I think you have to get left as you look sort of upwind on the downwind. And the French have gone back to where they took the lead and the British are right on their heels. This is going to be a sprint to the bottom gate and the French have to defend the British.
Just 4 seconds in it at the top mark there as Tom Slingsby looks for a right turn. He's going to maybe see wind on the other side of the course, but the Swiss, they were right back in the race, but they've fallen off the foils at just 25 kilometres an hour. They're losing distance so quickly. They got Phil Robertson now charging in. Going to try and get round them as well. On this final downwind leg, it's going to be a sprint.
So it's the final downwind leg and then the short reach to the finish line. The Swiss have gone dead in the water, both holes in the water, and we are looking at our 3rd different different winner in 3 races here. France can hold on.
And look at the boat speed differences here between the British and the France. Although we're not showing it graphically right now, you can see the British rolling over the top of the French about 5 kilometres an hour faster. And they're really putting the pressure on the French crew coming into our last turning gate.
So much pressure here. One more manoeuvre to do. At the moment, the control does sit with the French, but we can listen in on the French. They still sound calm.
Keep an eye on the boat speeds on the top of the masts. The all-important entry boat speeds to their last jibes will decide this race.
Average wind speed on the course right now, just over 22 kilometers an hour. Here's Great Britain. They pulled in front in the last moments of this race. And that is what France is looking at, trying to track down the Brits.
British crew have done a great job now, 30 metres ahead there, and there was an apology from Contant to his crew. I'm not sure he needs to say that now. They're sailing a great race, but one more jibe. If the British crew can stay on the foils, they should be set fair to come into this bottom gate and sprint to the finish. The French are going nowhere, though. A great jibe by France in second place, and I think it's going to be too late for Slingsby on board Australia to catch these two now.
So has Ben Ainslie pulled off the win sandwich here in Bermuda? They got a win in race number 1. It looks like they're on their way for the win in race number 3. What a performance and what a bounce back, guys. They finished 8th in the second race.
Everyone loves a win sandwich. That's a new one on me, and they'll be dining out on that one tonight, Todd.
France right behind them, and to Stevie's point, Contant Delapierre has done a fantastic job. Remember, the French started off season 3 here in race number 1, finishing in 9th place. They came back with a second, another second, Freddie. This will be a good step in the right direction for the French.
A really nice step in the right direction from the French. They featured in a good few final races last year, but never closed it out. They featured in the final 3 in Bermuda this time last year.
Here we go, race number 3 to the line, and the win will go to Sir Ben Ainslie and Great Britain Sail GP, getting things started off with a bang here in Bermuda. France grabs second, their second of the day. Tremendous performance by them. And Tom Slingsby, slippery and all, slides in for third. Guys, and this is where the points are really going to be valuable. If you can get 1 or 2 more positions at the end of this race, this could help you out on tomorrow.
Well, this is a nice turnaround. Sir Hested in 4th place at the moment here, but really what could be absolutely crucial, we're about to see them come across the line in 5th. The Canadian team have turned over the start line back into a 5th, and I think any team that can move through this fleet is going to do really well. Spithill and Burling, America and New Zealand, they've struggled to get through the fleet. That's something they're going to have to go away and analyse tonight. Very encouraging for the Canadian team.
And this is a drag race for 7th place. You've got 3 boats fighting for it. The Americans, the Kiwis, and here comes Spain on the outside.
Disappointing day again, I think, for the New Zealand team here. We'd expected a lot from them, but they've just got themselves bogged down in the pack. Great to see the Swiss team there, youngest driver in the fleet, Seb Schneider, coming through in 6th. Nice solid first day, I think, in Sail GP for them. But for Spithill and Burling on America and New Zealand, they're going to have some homework to go and do tonight.
Man, Spithill and company on Team USA looked so good in race number 1, finishing in 3rd place. Then they had the get-together with Great Britain. They dropped back to 7th in the second race, and then they finished as 7th again in race number 3. So today really belongs to Great Britain. Ben Ainslie, a fantastic job out on the water. It's got to feel great to start season 3 in this type of manner on day number 1.
Yeah, not a bad start. It's fantastic out here. See so many spectators, and great to have such a strong fleet that we now have with Sail GP. Really exciting final race against Team France, and got to say they really pushed us hard and sailed a great race. So yeah, tricky but fun.
Well, Ben, we can see Nicky Boniface sat behind you. I don't know if Nicky's comms kit's working, but interested to see. It looked like tactically a very difficult day, and I wondered how you managed to find your way out of trouble in those in that last race, because the middle race looked really hard.
Me? Yeah. Oh, sorry, my God.
You're on.
Just trying to keep clear air, wide lanes when possible. When you're in the mix, it gets a lot more complicated, as we found out.
Well, Ben, I think it was a nice performance. The starting seems to have improved through practicing yesterday. How are you looking forward to tomorrow's approach to the grand final? You won here last year. Do you think you can do that again?
Yeah, Well, we'll get a bit more breeze tomorrow, which would be nice. Today was super tricky with, puffy, shifty winds, so going to see if we get a bit more wind, keep things rolling. The team are doing a good job. Key is just getting into that final three, and anything can happen, so we'll keep pushing hard.
Our thanks to Ben Ainsley, Nikki Boniface. Great Britain Sail GP dominant on the day. They win race number 1. They win race number 3, and that's all about points, guys, as they pick up 20 points quickly like that. The only problem they had was in that second race where they kind of got an entanglement with the Americans on that last gate, but they will certainly be back for tomorrow as everyone looks to garner as many points as possible. Coming up tomorrow, remember, there's 3 more races, but as Ben alluded to, in that third race of the day, only the top 3 boats will be in there, so certainly something to look forward to here at the Bermuda Sail Grand Prix presented by Hamilton Princess.
Okay, the analysis of the day, and it's the British have actually fallen into all 3 analysis spots, much like their season 2. They were often a highlight boat, either crashing or winning, and that was their reflection of their day today. This was the last downwind where they just went out of the windward mark, the last windward mark, and consistently were 5 kilometers an hour faster than the French. They also did better manoeuvres. They did 2 jives on this last downwind, and as I was saying in commentary, it's about your entry speed into the jives. As they dropped their boards, they were doing faster boat speeds than the French, a really nice bottom boat speed as well. Sailed away to the finish to take their second win of the day.
Well, the start, what a moment it was. It was a different style. We see the whole fleet was very well back from the line, and it was France and Spain that took advantage. We call this a bit of a slingshot start. They're up on the foils, they're up to speed. The other boats are too close to the line to accelerate, and France and Spain come absolutely charging at the line. As it turns white, we can see that Canada and New Zealand were early, they broke the line, but now Spain and France, look at that top speed when they hit the line. They were behind when the gun went, but that speed converted into a huge gain for both those crews, and they were first and second at Mark 1. It was an incredible start, made it very, very hard for Canada and New Zealand after breaking the line early.
So we take a look at the event leaderboard after 1 day of racing here as Season 3 kicks off in grand style here in Bermuda. Canada out in front, 25 points. Great Britain in second with 23, and Australia 21. And Freddie, I got to say right off the bat, consistency certainly has paid off for the Canadians and the Brits.
Yeah, consistency has paid off for those 2 teams. Amazingly, our 2-time defending champion is in 3rd place, and in my head they had a bit of a stinker a day. Stevie, how on earth have they clawed their way into 3rd place?
He's just done a very good job of finding space and being able to sail fast in that space. He's just a little bit slippery, really. I think got to just say it's ominous for the rest of the fleet that Slingsby, even when he's not starting well, he can work back through the fleet.
After Australia, it's France, USA, Denmark, New Zealand, Spain, and Switzerland. Remember, you need to be in the top 3 after the first 2 races tomorrow to get into that grand final. Let's send it down to our all-stars down on the water, Lisa Darmanin and Nathan Outridge.
Well, it has been a difficult day of sailing on the water, and it does look like in that pack is the most challenging place to do what you want to do. Nathan, why is it so hard when you're stuck in that mid-pack?
Well, when you're in the pack, you just got dirty air the whole time and boats are really getting in your way. And, you know, Australians didn't start very well today at all, but they did a great job of clawing their way back. And, you know, for them to be sitting in 3rd right now is super impressive after, you know, what we saw was a really difficult day for all teams in the middle of the fleet.
Well, it looks like tomorrow we're going to have a little bit more breeze coming out of the south-southeast. We're thinking it's going to be around 50 to 20 kilometres per hour, winds gusting up to 30 kilometres per hour. So hopefully an easier day for the sailors and a little more exciting. Any guesses for the top 3, Nathan?
I'm going to stay with the top 3 we had today. I think they're sailing very well, and I think that you know, with a bit more breeze tomorrow, it'll be a good chance to see what some of the other teams that really struggled today. But you know, you really want to be in that top 3 to make the final on a Saturday, and you know, those top 3 teams, Australia, GBR, and Canada, are looking strong.
Other than Canada, were there any surprises?
I was a little shocked that USA and New Zealand were at the back. They showed moments at front, but you know, it looks like USA really struggling with flight control and making some errors around the track, and Peter Burling just probably tried to make it a little bit too complicated at times today and got caught up in the traffic and ended up at the back of the fleet.
And Jimmy Spithill, what will he be doing this evening?
I'm sure they'll be doing a nice data review of what was going on. I can see they've still got their jib up over there, and they might even do more training today.
Well, that wasn't the only racing on the Great Sound today, and it was fantastic racing, but we've obviously got rolling over from Season 1 and Season 2, our WASP Inspire programme. SailGP exists to make our sport better, and we're using that platform to get a better planet via Inspire Learning, Inspire Careers and Inspire Racing, and this is our Inspire Racing programme.
Down towards the start, watch for the line to turn white, and the Season 3's underway. Great start by the Canadians, great start by Ainsley. It's a sprint now for Mark. Looks like Canada are going to turn down first, but it's Ainsley who leads at Mark 1. And
in the race, and they chose to jibe out early.
Final race here, and the race 1 victory goes to the side of Denmark. It looks like he's going to sneak in. What a comeback by Slingsby. He's back through to 4th after a disappointing start to the race. Jimmy Spittle's going to be happy with 3rd, but wow, what a comeback. Okay, that's the voice of Phil Robertson saying the ley line's a little bit away. Great Britain set up to jibe. Off the foils on the British boat. This is an opportunity for Canada. Can he go round the outside, stay on the foils? This could be a big moment for this fledgling Canadian crew. Still has to avoid a collision. Burling coming through if he can stay on the foils. This coming in hot. Jordi Zamar on board the Spanish boat. Watch for
all the conversation has obviously been about Phil Robertson and Chris Draper, but I quite like giving a man of the match out or a woman of the match out at the end of the day. And for me, Stevie, that's got to be Billy Goodrum, the new flight controller.
Yeah, I think you've done a really good job of getting the boat flying so well in these gusty, shifty conditions. The boat's changing speed all the time. Every time the boat changes speed, you've got to move the foil to keep it flying well. So I think fair enough awarding that award to Billy, but Georgia as well needs a good mention in the background tactician, keeping Phil Robertson calm and sailing the boat fast around the course. I think what a performance for their first day in SailGP.
Well, before we say goodbye from the Bermuda Sail Grand Prix, day number 1 of Season 3, we want to give you a little education on those lines that you see out on the water, the ladder lines, and how the sailors use them to progress up and down the course.
SailGP uses award-winning live-line graphics to display the racecourse on your screens. Using augmented reality technology, the boundary lines, turning gates, start-finish lines and ladder graphics are overlaid onto the racecourse. The fastest way for the F-50s to navigate the course is to sail at an angle of 45 degrees to maximise the power they gain from the wind, and to illustrate who is ahead, the ladder graphics are overlaid on the racecourse. The ladder lines are spaced 100 metres apart, allowing us to easily see who is ahead no matter which direction a boat is travelling in. In this example, the Japan team on the right is in the lead, followed by the New Zealand team and then the Danish team in the middle. On the left-hand side, you can see the Great Britain team having some work to do to catch up with the USA team following behind. Here you can see that the New Zealand team are leading the Great Britain team, even though they're sailing in different directions, as the New Zealand team have made more progress up the ladder.
So what an exciting day 1 as we kick off season number 3. We want to remind you we'll be back tomorrow for more of the Bermuda Sail Grand Prix presented by Hamilton Princess. That's race day number 2, Sunday the 15th of May on the beautiful Great Sound here in Bermuda. Guys, can't wait to see what happens tomorrow. Stevie, I'll start with you. Your final thoughts on what you think we should be looking forward to tomorrow.
I just think the starting was absolutely crucial, and the teams, well, I just think the standard has gone up in the fleet now, so we have to be sharp around the course.
So that'll wrap things up for day number 1. On behalf of Stevie Morrison, Freddie Carr, Lisa Darmanin, and Nathan Outridge, I'm Todd Harris saying so long for now. We'll see you tomorrow for day number 2 of the Bermuda Sail Grand Prix presented by Hamilton Princess. So long, everybody.